That's your news. I'm Marshall Phillips in the Armstrong and Getty Show.
He's a Fogue. He's a longtime Fogue. Friend of A&G. Former State Senator Tom McClintock, now Congressman Tom McClintock from D.C. to talk about, being in the chamber for the State of the Union address in a couple minutes.
You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show and watching on the Bay Area's TV 50.
Taxes for first-time home buyers. We cut taxes for parents trying to care for their children. We cut taxes for 8 million Americans paying for college. I thought I'd get some applause on that one.
And they showed old Orange Boehner.
Yeah.
Not applauding. Welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show. Is that all true, all those tax cuts? I don't know. We'd have to ask somebody who knows this stuff.
Congressman Tom McClintock joins us from Washington, D.C. He's a congressman for the 4th District of California. Of course, Mr. Congressman, sir, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Boy, that all that tax cutting, I'm sure you were on your hooves applauding like crazy, whooping it up. Yes or no?
Well, in order to cut a tax, you first have to pay the tax. And if you recall, that's not what the president did. What he did was to do the same thing that George Bush had done the previous year, and that is send out handouts to anybody whether they paid tax or not.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that doesn't stimulate the economy. We warned that about Bush's so-called tax rebate, and it didn't stimulate the economy. Remember, that was $160 billion. That was supposed to stimulate the economy and keep us from going into a recession. You can see how well that worked. What the president did was repeat exactly Bush's blunder. That's not a tax cut. What really concerns me is the massive tax increases that are already scheduled to go into effect at the end of this year.
Wait. Whoa, you're wrong, Congressman. They're not tax increases. They're ending the tax cuts.
Well, bottom line is you're going to end up spending a lot more to the government. Says the guy so stupid he can't decode it.
Yeah, exactly.
and that's the basic problem. So you're going to see an increasing burden on the economy starting January 1st of next year. He just endorsed those tax increases to go into effect, so it's clear they're going to wallop the economy next year. The only good news of it is that is going to transfer some income from 2011 into 2010 as people try to avoid those higher tax increases. They're going to be transferring whatever income they can, realizing it earlier. So you're going to see a bit of a blip in 2010, but then the train goes off the tracks in 2011.
All that standing up and sitting down y'all do during the State of the Union address, I see people looking around like they're trying to figure out, is this what I'm supposed to stand up for? Do you look at the speech ahead of time and mark with an arrow up or down where you're supposed to stand or sit, or do you just...
No, they kept a very tight embargo on the speech this year, I think because probably they were writing it right up to the last minute. So
well, how do you know?
No advanced text. We had a few advanced excerpts. There is sort of a herd mentality. I mean, it essentially becomes, the president will state general objectives that we can all agree with. I mean, that's where you see the entire place standing up when he says, we need to bring back jobs in the economy. Well, yeah, of course we do, and everybody stands up and hoots and hollers. But then he says, and then we're going to do that by more government spending. That's exactly the wrong direction to take, and that's where you see that partisan breakdown occur.
So I get the sense that there's something important about the standing up and sitting down. I mean, do you have constituents ever say, "I saw you stand during that, and I don't like that," or "You were sitting"? Does it matter, or could you just sit there the whole time and let everybody sit?
That's what I'd do.
Well, don't forget, there is a great deal of respect that's owed to the office and to the Constitution from which that office stems. I mean, that is the office held by George Washington and Thomas Jefferson,
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, thanks. But so you do have to give respect to the office. And also, we are all rooting for the president to succeed. If the president succeeds, the country succeeds. There is a sharp division of opinion over whether the policies that he is employing are actually going to work. But, when he says we need to bring back jobs, well, of course we do. We all agree with that, and we all fervently pray that his policies will work. But the problem is we've got centuries of experience with such policies, and never in the history of civilization has a government ever been able to spend and borrow and tax its way to prosperity. History offers us many examples of governments that have spent and borrowed and taxed their way to economic ruin and ultimately bankruptcy.
Congressman Tom McClintock is on the line. There were obviously nobody shouting "you lie" or "shut up, you idiot" or anything that abusive. There were some pretty good groans, though. As I recall, was it the line about need to get lobbyists out of government or something? I can't remember.
Oh, no. It was on global warming. Those of you who still don't believe the overwhelming evidence of global warming. Well, I mean, that is the idea of man-made global warming has been so thoroughly, completely debunked this year. When he said that got a lot of laughs.
Well, nobody cares anyway. That Pew Research poll that came out the other day, it finished dead last among people's concerns, global warming. So the
planet has been warming and cooling for 4 billion years. And regardless of what Congress does, it's going to continue to warm and cool over the next 4 billion years.
Tom, I want you to respond to something that we hear a lot. The president said it last night. You damned obstructionist Republicans, why don't you come out with an idea or two instead of just stopping all ours? How do you respond to that?
That was the most breathtaking, I can't use the word lie. Churchill came up with the term terminological inexactitude. So I will say that is a terminological inexactitude of utterly breathtaking proportions. We have laid out all of our policy proposals to the president to revive the economy by reducing the burdens that have been placed on that economy, by restoring competition to health care, by giving people freedom to shop across state lines, bringing our malpractice lawsuits under control, a wide range of reforms, and our leadership has been there at the White House constantly bringing these to his attention. So for him to say he's never seen any alternative proposals is simply breathtakingly untrue.
What do you think? I guess it'd have to be a couple more terms, then you take on Barbara Boxer. Is that your plan? Don't worry, we're off the air now.
I think Barbara Boxer is going to be long ago history by the next election. I mean, we can see what's happening in Massachusetts, New Jersey, Virginia. There's a political awakening across the country that I think is the harbinger of a major political realignment.
Is it the right kind of a political awakening? Because if we get the same sort of Republican Party that spent us as much money as they did, for 8 years, that's
actually those guys were largely wiped out in the elections of 06 and 08. You've got a different breed here today. I have to tell you, Frank Luntz, the pollster, who's so enthusiastic and ebullient about everything, came in to do a lecture on the language of health care. And he comes in, and instead of being this enthusiastic guy bouncing off the walls, he's very serious, very sober. He looks at these Republican congressmen around him, and he says, before I talk about today's subject, I need to tell you guys something. I have been looking at polling data from across the country for the last 3 months in congressional districts all over America. It says, you guys are going to be in the majority next year. Please, this time, don't screw it up.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
And that's on everybody's mind.
Listen, Tom, we're about out of time, and if we may call you, Tom.
Absolutely.
We have been for years, so I guess we'll continue. But
I was going to say, what are you going to call me?
You were incredibly kind and generous when we were with you standing up for self-reliance and traditional American values with the mortgage bailout thing, and you mentioned the show during your speech before Congress, which was an incredible honor and one we will always remember. If you, next year, are able to shout out Armstrong and Getty during the State of the Union, we will pledge ourselves to prostituting ourselves for you for the rest of our natural lives and the lives of all our listeners.
Just keep those postcards coming. I've gotten more feedback from delivering those postcards to the Congress than anything else I've done in this first year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
we appreciate that.
A final thought. You have always told us that if things get crazy enough, people wake up and pay attention and democracy works. And we've always been too pessimistic to believe it. I'm starting to believe it.
Oh, look around the country; it's everywhere, and you're seeing it not only in the polling results, but now you're seeing it in the results at the polls.
Congressman Tom McClintock, stick to your guns, Tom.
Well, thank you guys very much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
But it is going to take a new breed of people. You just can't go back to the
phony, baloney, fake Republicans of, X number of years ago.
Well,
you're right.
Fake fiscal conservatives, anyway.
Right.
Stay with us. You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.